Hey, this is Tony from the Cold Case Project, where we focus on unsolved cases across the United States. Our mission is to bring attention to these unresolved mysteries that need your help. All the information we cover in these cases is readily available on the internet, but we rewrite and repurpose it for the purpose of these videos. Our goal is to spread the word about the thousands of unsolved cold cases still out there. Thank you for watching. If you want to help shed light on these cases, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Your support can make a difference.
Roger Germain Chambers, known as Jay to those closest to him, disappeared under puzzling circumstances on the evening of September 4th, 2010. His last known movements and the subsequent investigation have left a trail of unanswered questions, and despite the passing years, the mystery of his whereabouts remains unsolved. Chambers, a 27-year-old resident of Rayford, North Carolina, lived with his wife Cynthia and their daughter. By all accounts, he was a friendly, well-liked man with a strong desire to help others, particularly those struggling with homelessness. His compassionate nature was evident to those who knew him, making his sudden disappearance all the more alarming. On the evening of September 4th, Jay informed his wife that he had an appointment in Red Springs, North Carolina, about 30 minutes away. He was vague about the details, only saying it was scheduled for 7 p.m. and refraining from disclosing the name of the person he was meeting. Cynthia speculated that he may have been going to see someone who owed him money, though no concrete information supported this. At 6:15 p.m., Jay left his home in his green 1993 Toyota Camry, with chrome rims and the North Carolina license plate number YZF 4849. The car was described as having peeling paint on the hood and dents on the passenger side. A brief phone call between Cynthia and Jay after his departure gave no indication of trouble. He sounded normal and offered no signs of distress. Later that evening, Jay also encountered a friend at a Citgo gas station along Highway 211. The friend recalled their interaction as routine, without any concerning behavior from Jay. However, as the hours passed, Cynthia's concern grew. By 9:48 p.m., when she tried to call Jay, the phone went straight to voicemail. Despite repeated attempts to reach him, she received no response. Cynthia eventually fell asleep, but when she woke at 2 a.m. and Jay still hadn't returned home, panic set in. She reported him missing soon after. For Jay to vanish without a trace was profoundly uncharacteristic. Described as a responsible and caring family man, it was unlike him to leave his loved ones in the dark. Adding to the concern, there had been no activity on his bank account since his disappearance. His phone remained off, and investigators found no digital trail that could provide clues about his whereabouts. Cynthia recalled that Jay was passionate about assisting the homeless, often going out of his way to provide food, shelter, or a listening ear. Given this dedication, some wondered if his last appointment might have been tied to his charitable efforts. Others suggested the possibility of a more sinister motive, particularly if Jay had been meeting someone over an unpaid debt. Authorities considered the theory that foul play may have been involved, but without tangible evidence, the investigation faced significant challenges. They reached out to the public for any information and thoroughly examined potential routes Jay may have taken. Surveillance footage from the Citgo station was reviewed, but it offered no significant leads. One prevailing theory is that Jay encountered someone with malicious intent. The circumstances of his disappearance suggest that he may have been lured into a situation under false pretenses. If the appointment was indeed related to a financial dispute, it's possible he met with someone unwilling to settle their debt through legal or peaceful means. Another theory considers the possibility of an accident. The rural roads of North Carolina, particularly those near Red Springs, are surrounded by dense woods, fields, and bodies of water. Investigators explored the likelihood of a car accident that may have resulted in his vehicle being submerged or concealed. However, no evidence of a crash was ever discovered. There is also the unsettling notion that Jay's involvement in helping vulnerable individuals may have put him in harm's way. His compassion could have been exploited by someone with ill intentions, leading to a confrontation that ended tragically. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, this scenario has not been ruled out. For Jay's family, the lack of closure has been unbearable. His daughter, who was a teenager at the time of his disappearance, has since grown into adulthood without the presence of her father. Milestone events, such as birthdays, graduations, and holidays have passed with a lingering absence that continues to weigh heavily on his loved ones. Cynthia has remained vocal about the need for answers, frequently urging the public to come forward with any information. The community of Rayford has also shown support, holding vigils and awareness events in hopes of generating leads. Despite their efforts, the case remains unsolved. In the years following Jay's disappearance, authorities have not given up. They have followed various tips, conducted searches, and re-examined evidence, but the puzzle remains incomplete. Modern advancements in technology, such as license plate recognition systems and cell phone data analysis, offer renewed hope that breakthroughs could still occur. For now, the memory of Roger Germain Chambers endures in the hearts of those who loved him. His family remains determined to find answers and bring him home. They ask anyone with information to contact the Hoke County Sheriff's Office at 910-875-5111. Even the smallest detail could be the key to solving this enduring mystery. Samantha Bmore, a 24-year-old exotic dancer known by her stage name Sunshine, vanished without a trace in the early morning hours of April 6, 2004, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Her disappearance remains one of the most perplexing and heartbreaking unsolved cases in the region. Samantha, a young mother with a vibrant personality, was last seen leaving the Sugar Bears VIP Club on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, where she worked as a dancer. She got into a Willard Cab Company taxicab and was never seen or heard from again. On the night of April 5, 2004, Samantha worked her usual shift at Sugar Bear's VIP Club. According to witnesses, she left the club in the early hours of April 6th, around 2 a.m., and entered a Willard Cab Company taxicab. The cab driver reportedly dropped her off at her apartment complex on Silas Creek Parkway, where she lived with her boyfriend, Cedric Bobby Lemon. However, what happened after she arrived home remains a mystery. Samantha's boyfriend, Cedric Lemon, claimed that she arrived home that morning, and the two had a heated argument. He stated that Samantha told him she was going out to get a newspaper and look for a new place to live. Cedric mentioned that Samantha had left him for short periods before, so he assumed this was another one of those instances. However, when Samantha failed to return, her family grew concerned. Samantha's family realized something was wrong on April 8, 2004, when her sister went to the club to pick her up and discovered she wasn't there. Her sister returned the following evening, and employees confirmed that no one had seen Samantha in days. Samantha's family immediately launched a search, posting flyers, visiting clubs, gas stations, and housing projects in the area, asking if anyone had seen a dancer named Sunshine. Despite their efforts, no one had any information about her whereabouts. When Samantha's family searched her apartment, they found all of her belongings, including her dance bag, which she always carried with her. This discovery raised red flags, as it was highly uncharacteristic for Samantha to leave without her essential items. Her family reported her missing on April 10, 2004, and the Winston-Salem Police Department began an investigation. The troubled relationship with Cedric Lemon. Samantha's relationship with Cedric Lemon was described as rocky by those who knew them. The couple had met in 1999 at a club called James Walker's Place on Liberty Street, where Samantha worked as a dancer and Cedric was a bouncer. Over the years, their relationship became increasingly turbulent, and Samantha had expressed her desire to leave Cedric. She had even told her family that she was considering ending the relationship and finding a new place to live. Cedric Lemon had a criminal record dating back to 1995, with charges mostly related to drugs and driving offenses. After Samantha's disappearance, Cedric was arrested for a probation violation. Despite being questioned by police, he was never charged in connection with Samantha's disappearance. Cedric maintained that he had no involvement in her vanishing and even offered a $10,000 reward for any information leading to her return. However, in 2018, Cedric Lemon died of a drug overdose, taking any potential answers he may have had to the grave. The connection to other missing persons Samantha's disappearance is not an isolated case. It is connected to a series of other missing persons cases in the Greensboro and Winston-Salem areas, all of which have ties to the local drug trade and criminal underworld. One of the most notable connections is to Sandra Kingston, a 26-year-old woman who disappeared from Greensboro on July 2, 2002. Sandra was romantically involved with Elton Turnbull, a major drug kingpin and gun smuggler with ties to international drug cartels. Sandra had been arrested in November 2001 for drug possession and had agreed to cooperate with authorities in exchange for a reduced sentence. Elton Turnbull, fearing that Sandra would testify against him, allegedly kept her close, providing her with money and legal representation. However, Sandra vanished 9 months later, and her disappearance remains unsolved. Elton Turnbull was eventually arrested on drug charges in 2002 and provided testimony against other drug dealers in exchange for a lighter sentence. He was never charged in connection with Sandra's disappearance. Another missing person connected to this web of criminal activity is Sterling Porter, a 44-year-old man who vanished from Greensboro on May 25, 1997. Sterling's disappearance is linked to a drug-related shootout in which firearms belonging to both Sterling and Elton Turnbull were used. Sterling was questioned by authorities but denied any involvement in criminal activity. He vanished 7 weeks after his interview with the ATF and has never been found. Samantha Bmore's disappearance has sparked numerous theories, but none have led to concrete answers. One theory suggests that Samantha may have been involved in the local drug trade, either directly or through her association with Cedric Lemon. Given the connections between Samantha's case and the disappearances of Sandra Kingston and Sterling Porter, some believe that Samantha may have been targeted by individuals involved in the drug trade who feared she could expose their operations. Another theory focuses on Samantha's turbulent relationship with Cedric Lemon. While Cedric was never charged in connection with her disappearance, some believe that he may have played a role in her vanishing. The fact that Samantha had expressed her desire to leave him and was planning to move out raises questions about whether Cedric may have harmed her to prevent her from leaving. A third theory involves the possibility of human trafficking. Samantha worked as an exotic dancer, a profession that can sometimes intersect with the world of human trafficking. Some speculate that Samantha may have been abducted and trafficked, although there is no concrete evidence to support this theory. Despite the passage of nearly 2 decades, Samantha Bmore's case remains unsolved. The Winston-Salem Police Department has urged anyone with information about Samantha's disappearance to come forward. If you have any information about Samantha Bmore's disappearance, please contact the Winston-Salem Police Department at 773-7700. Your tip could be the key to solving this decades-old mystery and providing closure to a grieving family. Margie Shaw Boone was last seen in Sanford, North Carolina, on November 4, 1995. That day, she visited the home of her boyfriend, Hoyle Smith. The couple's relationship was known to be steady, and they were often seen together around town. However, when neither Boone nor Smith was heard from again after that visit, their families and friends grew concerned. Calls to their phones went unanswered, and both of their homes remained undisturbed. The pair's sudden disappearance marked the beginning of a chilling investigation. Authorities soon turned their focus to Smith's residence. Upon entering the home, investigators discovered a troubling scene. A trail of blood was found inside the house, and while there was no sign of Boone or Smith, the home showed evidence of a break-in. Furniture was overturned, drawers were pulled open, and valuables were missing. The unsettling discovery heightened fears that the couple had met with foul play. The investigation took a dramatic turn 5 days later on November 9, 1995. Donald Abercrombie, a man with a criminal record, was cornered by law enforcement in Fayetteville, North Carolina. A tense 17-hour standoff ensued, with Abercrombie barricading himself inside a residence. He eventually surrendered to authorities and was taken into custody. Investigators were quick to connect him to the case after analyzing evidence found at the crime scene. DNA evidence from Smith's house directly linked Abercrombie to the presumed murders of Boone and Smith. Faced with mounting evidence, Abercrombie confessed to the crimes. He provided grim details of how he had killed both victims and subsequently disposed of their bodies. According to his statement, he buried the couple in a wooded area near his residence in Spring Lake, North Carolina. Despite extensive searches in the location he described, no remains were ever recovered. In February 1997, Abercrombie stood trial for his crimes. He was charged with 1 count of robbery and 2 counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors sought the death penalty, believing the brutal nature of the killings warranted the harshest punishment. However, the jury ultimately sentenced Abercrombie to 2 life terms in prison. During the sentencing phase, several of his family members testified, recounting the abuse Abercrombie endured as a child and the psychological toll of his father's death years earlier. While these factors may have influenced the jury's decision, they did not absolve Abercrombie of the heinous crimes he committed. For the families of Boone and Smith, the lack of closure remains an enduring burden. Without the recovery of their loved ones' remains, they have been denied the opportunity to lay them to rest properly. Memorial services were held in their honor, but the unanswered questions surrounding their final moments linger. Boone was described as a kind, loving woman who brought joy to those around her. Her friends recall her warm smile and caring nature. Smith was similarly well regarded, known for his friendly demeanor and strong work ethic. Steve Arrowwood was last seen in Gastonia, North Carolina, on April 3, 1975. The 21-year-old lived with his parents in the 400 block of Chestnut Street. Despite having returned home only days earlier from a distressing trip to Texas, Steve vanished without a trace, leaving his family and friends desperate for answers. Steve's disappearance came after a series of troubling events. On March 9, 1975, he abruptly left home without warning. He left a brief note for his parents, but provided no information about his destination. Before leaving, Steve withdrew $815 from his savings account. His parents received a letter from him on March 20th, assuring them that he was fine and had secured a job. However, they would soon learn that his trip to Texas was not simply a pursuit of employment. It was a journey to see a 30-year-old married woman with whom he had been having an affair. The situation took a dangerous turn on March 30th, when the woman's husband, a long-distance truck driver, discovered the affair. According to reports, the enraged husband threatened to kill Steve. In a tense compromise, the woman agreed to accompany her husband on a trip to New Orleans, Louisiana, in exchange for Steve's safety. Fearful and shaken, Steve returned to Gastonia on March 31st. Though his lover denied any further contact with him after that, Steve remained on edge. After his return, Steve confided in friends that he believed the woman's husband was following him. Paranoia weighed heavily on him, and a fear of retaliation loomed. Despite his apprehension, he attempted to return to his normal routine. On April 3rd, Steve had dinner with his sister at Fern Forest Apartments. Following the meal, he met up with a friend. While they were out together, Steve spotted what he believed to be the car belonging to his lover's husband. Though his friend could not confirm the identity of the driver, the car trailed them for some time. The unnerving encounter seemed to further unsettle Steve. At approximately 10:30 p.m., Steve dropped his friend off at their home on East 3rd Street. This would be the last confirmed sighting of him. In the early hours of April 4th, his 1971 Toyota was discovered abandoned near the swimming pool at Fern Forest Apartments. The circumstances surrounding the discovery were troubling. The car's door was left ajar, the keys remained in the ignition, and Steve's belongings were still inside. Most bizarrely, a pair of men's underwear lay on the ground behind a vehicle. Authorities launched an investigation and traced a letter that arrived for Steve postmarked from New Orleans on April 7th, for days after his disappearance. Hoping it would provide vital clues, investigators opened and examined the letter. However, it contained no useful information regarding Steve's whereabouts. 2 weeks after Steve's disappearance, the police managed to locate and question the woman's husband. Despite his involvement in the tense confrontation in Texas, the man refused to take a polygraph test. After questioning, he was released, and his current status in the investigation remains unclear. He has never been publicly identified, and no charges have been brought against him. Steve's family struggled with the devastating absence of their son and brother. His father passed away in 2008, and his mother followed in 2012. In their obituaries, Steve was noted as having predeceased them, a somber acknowledgement of the family's belief that he had met with foul play. Despite decades passing without answers, Steve's 4 sisters continue to hope for closure. Though the passage of time has eroded many potential leads, investigators still suspect foul play in Steve Arrowwood's disappearance. His case remains unsolved. Anyone with information regarding his whereabouts or the circumstances of his disappearance is urged to contact the Gastonia Police Department. Alvin Lamont Breeden was last seen on March 1, 2018, in Durham, North Carolina. The 52-year-old Navy veteran lived with his elderly mother on Hemlock Avenue and also helped care for his sister, who had undergone multiple surgeries and was temporarily immobilized. Alvin was a man of dedication and compassion, known for his selfless nature and unwavering commitment to his family. His sudden and unexplained disappearance has left his loved ones devastated and desperate for answers. That afternoon, Alvin told his mother he was going out to meet some friends near the intersection of NC 55 and Gaston Avenue. He assured her he would return, as he often did, to check on her well-being. Alvin was reliable and consistent, so when he failed to return home or contact his family, concern quickly set in. His family reported him missing a week later, hoping for any word about his whereabouts. Alvin was no stranger to responsibility. After serving in the Navy, he pursued higher education, earning a bachelor's degree in human resources management and a master's degree in human development and counseling from Troy State University. His career was a reflection of his dedication to helping others. He worked as a counselor at Durham Public Schools and supported individuals in group homes. More recently, he had enrolled in a vocational rehabilitation program through the Department of Veterans Affairs, working towards certification as a nursing assistant. On the day of his disappearance, Alvin was last seen wearing a black jacket with red trim, a red and white short-sleeved shirt, blue jeans, and red and orange sneakers. Despite the warm, clear weather, he never made it back home. His phone calls went unanswered, and there was no activity on his bank accounts or social media. His family, especially his sister, has emphasized that Alvin would never willingly disappear without contacting them. His devotion to caring for his mother, who was 81 years old at the time, made it even more unimaginable that he would abandon his responsibilities. The areas Alvin was known to frequent were heavily searched in the days and weeks following his disappearance. These included Fayetteville and Pilot Streets, Crimson Creek Drive, Hemlock Avenue, and Woodcroft Parkway Barbie Road. Despite efforts from law enforcement and volunteers, no significant leads emerged. The Durham Police Department conducted interviews and followed up on potential sightings, but nothing definitive materialized. Alvin's sister described him as a gentle soul who would never harm anyone. Given his history of helping others, the family feared he may have encountered foul play. Alvin's past also included battles with post-traumatic stress disorder, a diagnosis he received after his time in the Navy. However, he was under medical supervision and managing his condition well, making a voluntary disappearance unlikely. Adding to the complexity of Alvin's story are the scant media reports covering his case. Despite the circumstances, his disappearance received little attention. His family struggled to get his story heard, often feeling overlooked compared to other missing persons cases. This lack of visibility has made it all the more difficult to gather information or generate new leads. Alvin's sister, who passed away after his disappearance, had been one of his strongest advocates. She tirelessly searched for answers, believing in her brother's innocence and the importance of finding closure. Today, the rest of his family remains committed to keeping his story alive, hoping that someone, somewhere, will come forward with information. In their search for answers, the family faced additional challenges. Rumors and speculation clouded the investigation, leading to frustration and heartache. Law enforcement explored the possibility of robbery or random violence, but no clear motive was established. Although Alvin had faced legal troubles in the past, including arrests in 2014 for charges of assault and theft, his recent efforts to rebuild his life demonstrated his commitment to his family and future. The absence of surveillance footage, witness accounts, or substantial evidence has left investigators at a standstill. Without leads, the case remains unsolved. But Alvin's family refuses to give up. They continue to share his story, seek public support, and encourage anyone with information to come forward. Alvin Lamont Breeden is described as approximately 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing between 180 and 200 pounds. He has a thin mustache and was last seen in the aforementioned clothing. Anyone with information regarding his whereabouts is urged to contact the Durham Police Department at 919-560-4600. Elizabeth Turvy Brown was last seen on February 21, 1977, in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. She had recently left her husband, Lee Brown, and was on her way to stay with a friend in Virginia Beach, Virginia. As she traveled, she stopped to ask for directions near the Kitty Hawk fishing pier. That was the last time anyone saw her, and she has never been heard from again. Her red, white, and blue 1976 Chevrolet Vega was later discovered abandoned in the parking lot of the Southern Shores Hotel. The vehicle was unlocked, with her purse, hat, and coat still inside. The keys were left in the ignition, further deepening the mystery. Lee Brown, Elizabeth's husband, became a person of interest in the investigation. It was reported that he waited an entire week to report her missing, a delay that raised suspicion. Additionally, when he was brought to identify her vehicle, he was reportedly intoxicated. Despite the suspicious circumstances, Lee was never formally charged in connection to his wife's disappearance. Months after Elizabeth vanished, he moved to Florida, further complicating the investigation. Lee has since passed away, leaving lingering questions about his possible involvement. Elizabeth's daughter, however, has maintained that she does not believe her father was responsible for her mother's disappearance. She pointed out that Lee was recovering from surgery at the time, which may have limited his ability to be involved. While this belief has provided some comfort, the lack of definitive answers continues to weigh heavily on the family. Elizabeth's life before her disappearance was one of resilience and strength. She resided on Pelham Road in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Friends and family described her as a loving, caring woman who was determined to start a new chapter in her life. Her decision to leave her marriage was a brave step toward seeking independence and happiness. Her loved ones remember her vibrant spirit and dedication to those she cared about. In the years following Elizabeth's disappearance, law enforcement pursued numerous leads and conducted extensive searches. Despite their efforts, no significant evidence has emerged. Foul play is strongly suspected, but with Lee Brown deceased and no additional suspects publicly identified, the case remains cold. The lack of media attention at the time of her disappearance further hindered the investigation, making it challenging for authorities to gather information. Elizabeth's family continues to seek answers. They hold on to the hope that someone may come forward with information that could finally provide closure. The questions surrounding her case remain haunting. Who did she meet on that fateful day? Did she make it to Virginia Beach, or did something happen to her before she could reach her destination? And what secrets might the Southern Shores Hotel parking lot hold? As time passes, the urgency to solve Elizabeth's case grows. Investigators encourage anyone with information no matter how small, to come forward. Even the tiniest detail could be the key to uncovering the truth. Elizabeth Turvy Brown was a beloved daughter, mother, and friend. They deserve answers, and Elizabeth deserves to be remembered not just as a missing person, but as a vibrant woman whose life was cut short under mysterious circumstances. Anyone with information about Elizabeth's disappearance is urged to contact local authorities. Karen Basta was last seen on the evening of May 31st, 2015, in Edenton, North Carolina. She had been shopping at the Food Lion store located at North Broad Street and Coke Avenue before heading out with friends. However, she never returned home, and her sudden disappearance has left her family and the community searching for answers. Basta, a woman known for her outgoing and friendly nature, was described as a reliable individual who kept in close contact with her loved ones. When she failed to come back or respond to phone calls, concern quickly grew. Approximately a week after her disappearance, her red 1997 Lincoln Continental was discovered parked in the back lot of a shopping center at Gaslight Square in Edenton. The vehicle was locked, the keys were missing, and no immediate signs of foul play were evident at the scene. Investigators turned their attention to Thomas Edward White Sr., a man who emerged as a person of interest in Basta's disappearance. White's suspicious behavior raised alarm when, the day after Basta went missing, he used her Discover credit card to purchase cigarettes at the very same Food Lion where she had last been seen. Surveillance footage confirmed his identity, and White was soon charged with obtaining property by false pretense and attempting to obtain property by false pretense. White's legal troubles culminated in January 2018 when he pleaded guilty to the charges. The court ordered him to pay $600 in restitution and serve a sentence consisting of 6 weekends in jail, followed by 36 months of probation and parole. Despite these legal consequences, no additional evidence has surfaced linking White directly to Basta's disappearance. Authorities, however, have not ruled out his possible involvement, as the suspicious circumstances surrounding the use of her credit card remain a significant factor in the ongoing investigation. Karen Basta's family has continued to advocate for justice, pleading for anyone with information to come forward. Law enforcement agencies remain committed to solving the case, pursuing leads, and conducting interviews to uncover what may have happened on that fateful night. Foul play is suspected, but without concrete evidence or a confirmed timeline of events, the mystery of Basta's disappearance persists. Authorities urge anyone with information regarding the disappearance of Karen Basta to contact the Edenton Police Department or local law enforcement. William Alley, the former director of the Davidson County Museum of Art in North Carolina, was last seen on February 2, 2000. For 5 years, Alley had served as the museum's director, but his career came to an abrupt end when he was confronted by colleagues about approximately $14,750 that had gone missing from the museum's bank accounts. After facing the accusations, Alley resigned from his position and left the office at around 11 a.m. that day. What followed has left his family and authorities searching for answers ever since. When Alley failed to pick up his young child from the babysitter that afternoon, his wife grew alarmed and reported him missing. Despite thorough investigations, there has been no trace of him. Alley's personal belongings, including his checkbook, were found at his family's home on Beck's Church Road in Lexington, North Carolina. The family car was still parked in the driveway, indicating that Alley had not used it to leave. Authorities also discovered a note left by Alley, but its contents have never been publicly disclosed. The situation took a turn on February 16, 2000, when an arrest warrant was issued for Alley on charges of embezzlement. Investigators alleged that he had stolen the missing $14,750 from the museum's accounts. This development fueled speculation that Alley may have fled to avoid facing legal consequences. However, his family remains unconvinced that he disappeared voluntarily. They believe that foul play may have been involved, citing the unusual circumstances surrounding his disappearance. Allie's sudden resignation and subsequent vanishing left both his family and the museum community in shock. Described as a dedicated professional, he had been well regarded in his role as director. However, the allegations of financial misconduct cast a shadow over his career. While investigators pursued leads and followed up on potential sightings, no concrete evidence has surfaced to confirm his whereabouts. Over the years, the case has remained open, with authorities periodically reviewing it for any new information. As of today, William Alley's case remains unsolved. Law enforcement urges anyone with information to come forward, hoping that even the smallest detail might provide the breakthrough needed to uncover what happened to him.